Oi oi people, Silky here, and you're listening to the Lifer Musician Podcast, a podcast exploring the minds of creatives who've dedicated their lives to pursuing a career in music. The Lifer Musician Podcast is brought to you by Hookings Management, my artist services company that empowers our fellow D.I.Y musicians to grow a monetised fan base without a record label. We offer a range of services such as online marketing, artist mentorship, release campaign management, videography, photography, graphic and website design, plus tons more useful services that are built to cater for independent musicians on small, self-funded budgets. Helping musicians market and monetize their art form is our passion. So if you're an artist that needs help taking your career to the next level, please feel free to reach out and get in touch via hookingsmanagement.com, where you can book a video call with me for some free advice on your project. Cool, so let's talk about crowdfunding, because that's been pretty massive for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what, I think, because obviously, like, I'm normally sitting over there in that chair monitoring these podcasts, and I've listened to both. Obviously, I listen to them all and edit them, so I'm always hearing it. And we've already, like, both, I think you and Johnny and you and Dan both said the same thing, and I'm going to now say the same thing. When you mentioned to us about crowdfunding, all four of us, and there was 5 at the time, were all a bit like, oh, do we want to do that? Like, do we want to look like we're, I guess, like, begging for money? Complete idiots. It's the worst. Like, that's not what you should think, because actually, if we never did it, we wouldn't have the album we have, and so many people got behind us and saw it in the positive way it should be seen, instead of our musician side of trying to be all cool and relaxed about everything. How we saw it was negative, but thank God you kind of, hoaxed us, like, built us up and kind of, explained why it's worth it. And I think you mentioned in one of the podcasts that video of, I've forgotten her name, Amanda Palmer, about how she worded it and all that. And yeah, it is the best thing we did as a band, for because labels, if you're signed to a label, they will pay you, if it's a good label, they'll front the cost for an album, but you owe them a load of money back after, and if you don't make the sales, they'll drop you, or you'll be in debt to them forever. So the only way for us to make an album of the quality that we wanted it to be, we've got to find that money ourselves. And our album, we have a very good producer called Clint, who is, he's even we've shaved him on a lot of stuff, and he's been willing to, like, charge us less because we've become good mates with him, and he actually ended up part songwriting a lot of it anyway. But yeah, it costs, like, completely up front. Our album, just to record everything and hire the studio spaces, would cost like about $1,000 a song when we were first doing it, and altogether I think the album probably cost us, we worked out it would probably cost us around 12 grand when you include all the studio costs, all the people involved and all that. Like, where are we going to find 12 grand from? Like, you can't just pluck that out of thin air. But if you want to make, but then you got fans being like, oh, when's next song coming out? Oh, like, they don't realise how much it costs either. So doing a crowdfund, you can kind of really explain in depth how much actually things cost to do everything, and that's including the album, the marketing, the artwork, the videos and all that, and just be really open and transparent with your fans. And we did that, and it went, it covered all them costs that I just mentioned there, and we managed to raise all that money. And I guess you use the term raise, but I like to see it as, like, it's just like when a band does a pre-order for their album, really. That's all it is. But when you hear crowdfunder, you think, like, you start thinking about it in a different way. But essentially all it is giving the fans something, promising the fans something, and they can pre-order it, and then pre-ordering it is basically helping us make it. We'd already wrote most of the songs. We'd already given them 3 or 4 that were on the album in advance anyway when we were releasing them as singles. So that crowdfund is the main reason we've been able to bring out that album without being in that danger zone that I mentioned earlier in our spreadsheet.
Yeah, man. And was it £12,000 that you guys raised in the end?
Yeah, I think it was 12,640 or something.
Amazing.
And yeah, when I, do you know what, you was talking about the cha-ching on Shopify.
Yeah, but that was live.
We when we set it up on Shopify, I remember saying to the guys, like, I think we said we need to raise 10,000, and to be completely honest, really, we needed to raise probably more like 15 to 20, but we put like the goal as 10,000, and I remember saying to the guys, like, oh yeah, maybe we'll make like 300 quid or something in the first few days or a week or something, and then I think we made nearly $2,000 in one day, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I remember you being like, fuck, like I
was blown away.
Yeah,
you know what was really impressive about you guys as well? So what we find across the board with the crowdfunding campaigns that we've run, definitely Guitar Pop and other artists that we've worked with at Hookings, the sort of average purchase value is 25 quid, isn't it?
Mm.
And you guys were like averaging like £40 a head on an album crowdfunding.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I kept saying to you when I first didn't want to do it, I was like, Ollie, our fans don't have as much money as Scar fans.
Fucking like double what everyone else is making.
Yeah, but I think
your merch is sick, to be fair.
I think it's just because, like, I won't go too much into it, but like, merch is really important, and like, the better you can make it look without costing too much, the more sellable it is, essentially, and because people want to wear it because it looks cool, not just because they're supporting
you guys go in pretty hard, don't you, with like the sort of different t-shirt designs and hoodie designs and stuff. You pay like
a much better art designer than I am
to make it, didn't you? So yeah, but I just think that's awesome, and that's something that more DIY musicians need to know about. Everyone says there's no money in fucking music sales anymore, streaming doesn't pay anything, but what we've found with our projects is that people are paying between 25 and 40 quid for a crowdfunding pledge, and that is essentially a form of an album sale, isn't it?
It is.
So it's fucking 2022 and we're selling albums for between 25 and 40 quid. Do you know what I mean? On crowdfunding campaigns. Alright, they're bundled in with other bits and pieces.
Yeah, they're buying a t-shirt and whatever, yeah.
They're pre-ordering that album as part of that. Which I think is phenomenal, and again, on quite small numbers as a DIY musician, that can end up growing into like quite a large amount that you can raise for an album. I mean, do you know how many people it was that backed the album to raise the 12.5 grand odd?
Yeah, so it was, I say only, it's still a lot for where we were at and that, but we made 12 grand and that out of 260 people, which, in the grand scheme of things, 260 people isn't that many people, but it just shows how much, if they like the product and they want the album and that, you only need 260 people to buy something, and then we've got where we are. Just like, I love those 260 people, and when we do our next crowdfund, I'm gonna love them just as much again. But yeah, it's mental. Is that what is it? That guy, I can't remember. I'm very bad with quotes. It's the guy that says like, you only need
1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
There's a book on that, isn't there? Yeah,
and it is true.
Oh mate, yeah. I mean, if you look at so essentially our bands are at present small businesses, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like in the clinical sense. And if you think of like a fucking conventional small business, like a window cleaning business or whatever, if you had like 500 customers, like you'd be like, fucking hell, he's got a lot of customers.
Yeah,
must have like 4 or 5 vans on the road, and that generates a lot of money. And if you're not paying the middleman, like a label or whatever out the middle and that, and all these sales are going directly through your Shopify, you've got 500 super fans, that'll pay you £100 across a year, 25 quid on a
cool t-shirt or
something, yeah, £25 on an album, crowdfunding pledge, concert ticket, etc. That's a decent amount of turnover off a very small audience, and I think that I certainly couldn't see that a few years ago before I went down this rabbit hole in Deaf Guitar Pop and helping DIY musicians putting this stuff into practice. I had no idea that such small numbers could actually generate a decent
No, neither did we.
level of business for you as an artist and get you paid and earn you money so you can reinvest in marketing and expanding and recording and everything. And I think that's I hope that musicians listen to this that are maybe a few steps behind where we're at and go, fucking hell, man, like actually when you break it down, like 260 odd people just raised 12 grand for this band to make their album. And,
and I'm trying to find the right words to explain this, but like, so like musicians especially, I was one of them as well. When like we're talking so openly about money and about how much like they earn and stuff, and like, you know, you get people that say like, oh, I'm just in it for the music, man, and stuff like that. And it's like, we still are, but the money is important, and you should talk about it like this, because
it should be normalised.
Because I always get worried that people are thinking like, oh, I'm just a money grabber, I'm just working out ways to make money. But like, how else are you going to do a musical career without being paid for it? You have to be paid for it, so you should talk about it this way. And it's not looking at a way to exploit fans, it's looking at ways to, you know, like, serve them fans with good content so that they want to listen to you. And they don't, them 260 people that pledged to our crowdfund aren't sitting there going, oh fuck, they squeezed some money out of me, didn't they? They're going like, please take this money because I want to hear this out. Like, I want this album, I want a signed album, I want this t-shirt, it looks cool. And I think that's that mindset of like, because I know that there's people out there, including myself at one point, that just saw like, oh, I shouldn't want to make money off of my fans, I should just give them.
Yeah, I mean
you have to make money.
That's some weird fucking like shame, like toxic shame stuff that artists feel that they shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really important to normalise this.
Yeah,
stuff,
that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to get at, like normalising being open about how much it costs to do things and how much. You know.
Yeah, I mean, look,
you don't go to McDonald's and expect them to give you a Big Mac meal for free. No,
exactly. Yeah. And there was a long period of time, and I guess it's still going on a bit, but I think artists are starting to wise up now in this new era where it's so much easier to market and monetize online, where it was just normal for like bands to just go out and play for nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give their shit away and that. And I think obviously you have to do a bit of that. You know, for instance, Deaf and Guitar Pop. So we're clearing, like, we're making good money on our shows now, especially our headline shows, getting good fees for festivals. But everybody knows that supports pay shit. And we've just been offered an arena support, which is going to be fucking awesome, and we've snapped their hand off to do it. But yeah, the promoter's not paying anything really. I mean, it's like, you know, a gesture. I won't say what it is, but so yeah, I mean, like there's opportunities like that where you have to go, well, you know, that's a lost leader. We get to play to like 5,000 plus people in an arena, and I see why, you know, they would only offer a band you know, a minimal fee, a gesture. And you hear a lot of artists actually buying on to those supports as well.
Yeah, you do.
Paying 10 grand to support a band at the O2 Arena. But, you know, it's good marketing.
It's a marketing.
If you pay 10 grand on Facebook ads over a year, like, and say that band that you're supporting in the O2 is, like, sort of your perfect, like, niche demographic audience. If it's just perfect for for you as a, so say it was Enter Shikari or Don Broco for you, or Madness for us, or whatever. So Suggs, if you're watching, I'll pay you 20 grand to support that. I fucking won't. But no, I can see how that can work as well, really, if you've got the budget to do something like that. But like aside from that, like those lost leader opportunities. You do have to be. I think it's up to us to put the value on our art again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And, that's why I'm such a fucking massive sort of champion of all these new methods, and why it's got me. So that's why I've never enjoyed being a musician and pursuing a music career as much as I have right now, because of all these great ways that I can navigate the industry by myself without, you know, or just you know, with my team of people that are in like my band, and all pull together and be able to essentially be in control of our career and nurture and monetize an audience on our own terms. And see that money hitting our fucking PayPal or whatever, like instantly when we sell an album, and when we run those ads, seeing those results, you know, instantly coming in, comments that fans that we can reply to, and then build a relationship and get their data. And it's just a really cool time for it all. And just to sort of like conclude on that, I think it's great that that you and I feel so comfortable now about just talking about the numbers. Do you know what I mean? And how important it is, the business and marketing side behind what we do, you know?
Yeah, whenever I talk to new clients or we're going through marketing, I will sometimes be like, this is how much I've spent on marketing, and this is how much we've accumulated in terms of sales.
Yeah.
Because you can then, like, it's just being open about, like, the cost of things, because, like, obviously Facebook marketing and, like, any marketing is expensive.
Yeah.
But then, like, here's the proof that if you do it correctly and your content's good and your products are good. Our band, although, again, we're still not profitable because I always use this example. I think I've said it to my nan before as well, like window cleaning. When you start that business, you buy your equipment, and then that's it. That's your costs, and then you go out and clean a window, and then you get paid for that window, and then you go out, clean another window, get paid for that window, and then you start to accumulate more houses that want their windows cleaned, and then you might employ someone else or whatever. Whereas, like, for music, you pay so much up front, and then you don't really get paid for that song, and then you do another thing, you don't really get paid for that, and you, like, there's so much more, not discrediting, like, other businesses and that, but just in terms of, like, what it takes to actually become profitable in a music type of thing is a lot harder, and a lot more money has to be spent before you ever see anything.
Yeah, I think in a band, like, or if you're an original artist trying to build a brand and a mass audience, I mean, look, like, it's a valid point what you're saying, but I also think it comes down to the difference of, like, are you creating a profitable job for yourself?
Yeah.
Or a business, do you know what I mean? And if that window cleaner example, if that was a one-man band, it's just got to get his, like, van and his tools and everything, maybe do a little bit on marketing to get going, some flyer in, some Facebook ads or whatever, and once he's built his client base, he's got a profitable job for life if he's good. But if that dude wants to build a window cleaning empire, vans all over the UK, he's going to need as much in marketing as maybe, like, and throw, like, 100 grand at ads and, like, aggressive marketing all over, and expansion, and taking on, like, a team earlier, like, than the sort of before it's profitable or whatever, and I guess that's what we're trying to do in a band, is create that mass audience and try and make it as big as possible, as lucrative as possible, and that doesn't come cheap.
No, it doesn't.
You have to reinvest your profits and bootstrap the business, do you know what I mean? And there comes a point where you have to pay yourself as well. So but then beyond that, you're probably going to have to try and find some kind of loan or investment capital or whatever, because if you try and grow what you're doing purely on the cash flow of your 500, 1,000 fans or whatever, it's going to be really hard to grow quick enough if you really want to smash it and get up to, like, the level of having a really successful touring business or whatever. So that's why you run in the red for a long time. Because
as I say, because, like, 2-year break, like, have made probably. We've made double what we've spent in marketing.
Yeah.
But we ain't sitting there paying ourselves and that, because then we've also had to pay for the album, and but in terms of, like, marketing on its own, you can see which is why I like to show clients that, is like, you can see that we spent so and so on marketing, but this is how much the band's accumulated from tour tickets, sales, streaming money, and all that. And it does show that the marketing is profitable. It's just, it's not what it's not
like marketing, like
value
versus income. Is great, but then there's all the other bits that you've got to reinvest that income into. Like music videos.
If you're music videos, recording it all, if you're trying to get like marketing itself, publicity, PR, radio campaigns, if you're into that, like all of that stuff. So yeah. But I just like being open about all the
I think it's all
the costs and everything.
It's not. There's a lot of, like, with debt, and there's a lot of, like, sort of stigma attached to having a business that's not profitable. And in our case, being in bands that generate a sizable income and pay everybody involved in everything, and are growing in income every year, but aren't profitable. I think there are a lot of narrow-minded people that don't understand business would be like, oh, well, you're not making any profit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, UFC didn't make profit for fucking years.
No.
And it pretty much was on the brink of going bust. There was, Dana White talks about how he burnt through $40 million of his partner's investment money, and they were running out of money. And his partner said, look, just see what you can get for this business, like, we're out. And he got an offer of like $7 million. And he'd been doing it for like 12 years or something at that point, aggressively marketing it, working his ass. And UFC was massive at the time. But it just kind of goes to show, like, what on a huge scale, in that example, what it takes to grow like a mass audience entertainment business. And we're all little microcosms of that, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? So the same fundamentals apply. So yeah, man, it's one of those things where I think you've just got to accept that you're going to be in the red for a while, but as the business grows, even though you're in the red, you're going to be able to pay yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as and include that as one of your overheads.
Yeah, like when I say I'm in the red, or like 2-year break isn't profitable, the band aren't sitting there going like, oh fuck, we've not got any money left to.
No, you got cash flow,
because there's growing a cash flow there. Like there are, we still invest our own little bit of our monthly income into the band so that we can, there's always a safety net there.
Yeah.
But like, we're not sitting there going like, oh shit, next month we're screwed or whatever, because not the. Because when you say you're in the red, it sounds bad, doesn't it? But
but it shouldn't be.
It's not.
Do you know what I mean? It's just part of the journey of like building a long-term business.
You kind of like, if the red's there, you're kind of always like dipping like in and out. Like,
and I think what's interesting as well is, like, I'm sure it's the same for you guys, but like with Death of Guitar Pop now, like if we wanted to, we could just cap all the marketing. And within a year, we'd have a decent, profitable business with the customer base that we've got.
Yeah.
Johnny and I would be able to pay ourselves like a reasonable salary, and we'd never have to grow it any further than that. And we've created a salary job out of our music, but that's your ceiling, really, unless someone else comes along and wants to invest a load of money or whatever, or we manage to stumble upon some like huge opportunities that come out of the blue that expand our reach or whatever. But ultimately, like if we want to keep growing that fan base, we keep reinvesting those profits that come in. Do you know what I mean? And then and then sourcing more like loans and investment or whatever, so we can really maximize that marketing and strike while the iron's hot, while we've got momentum as a band. Got no problem anymore with getting loans out for our business to spend on marketing, so that it takes the pressure off of us having to do it all with our own cash flow, because we're growing a bit of a monster. But you do have to get comfortable with the fact of taking a bit of debt on, getting involved with investors maybe, not being profitable on paper or whatever, and you get used to that as part of the journey.
I mean, it's hard to explain it, but it's just like, I'm not against record labels, but in essentially, you do like us doing what we're doing now. Okay, if the right record label came along, they might push it a bit further because they've got contacts. But in a sense, the debt that we're in now, at least we're in debt to ourselves and our cash flow to ourselves. Because if you had a label, you'd be in the same. You might be in the same position that you are now, but you'd be in debt to them, as opposed to like because do you get what I mean? Because like some people sometimes say, oh, well, why don't you just try and get a record label? And I just think like what all the money that we're putting in now, we'd only be having to give it to someone else at a label if it was the other. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, you'd be paying off your advance.
You'd be paying off your advance, and they'd be paying for the PR and that. So you'd constantly sort of, I guess what was, I don't know what I'm saying, but
no, it makes sense, man. And I think what's important as well is like you guys, your first album has been crowdfunded at 12 grand. There's not many decent like boutique indie labels that will give a band 12 grand.
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah, I think you're helping.
You've created that already. So like you, every time if you was to stop investing in marketing tomorrow, you've got that fan base now and you've got all their data, so you could make an album, as many albums as you want now for the next however many years, and that same fan base will back you, and you're always at least gonna raise that 12k. It's gonna cover your, which is paying for your passion, and then you can do your fan club, you'll pay monthly fan club, which is something you're going to launch soon, and you can play X amount of gigs a year that are self-promoted and sell X amount of merch to that same like group of fans / customers. And so you've kind of you've done it. Do you know what I mean? You've created that successful small business, but now you're trying to grow it into like a bigger business. So that like I say, that does involve like taking debt on, getting sometimes like in the hole as a business, sometimes getting investors or whatever. But no,
it's all a load of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's cool though, isn't it? Man? It is like I used to really resent doing any of the business side back in the day when I was in SOE, like fucking when I was in my mid-20s or whatever. And I wish I'd have got into it earlier and wised up, do you know what I mean, and done my research, because I was entrepreneurial in that I always had like little bits and pieces I would do, like I'd do like promoting and stuff like that and make a few quid out of that, and guitar lessons and that. But I wish I'd have really doubled down earlier on the business of growing a band. But then again, it was a completely different climate then, and you didn't have these like awesome fucking resources that we've been talking about all evening on this podcast, like, and these paid marketing platforms where you can reach your demographic directly, and these really awesome like e-commerce platforms where you monetize them directly, and that we didn't really have any of that shit then anyway. So but yeah, you definitely I definitely feel like we've both learnt to just fully embrace the entrepreneurship that comes with being in a band, especially a D.I.Y one, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is being championed by Kerrang Radio and Radio 1's Jack Saunders. I think it would be interesting for the listeners to know how that came about.
So, do you want the full story of how we got the connections, or do you just want the...
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool story. It kind of just sort of like shows the hustle involved sometimes that like getting these connections in the first place.
I don't believe in fate and all that bollocks, personally. But we obviously work out, like we all rehearse at the White Room, which is owned by Mark Watts. And just by random chance, he come into our room one day and was like, I've got a new neighbour moving in, he's in a really cool band, have you heard of him, Don Broco? And we were like, excuse me, who? Like, you don't know who Don Broco is? You're like, no, I never heard of him. And basically it was Matt, the drummer from Don Broco, and we were just like, that's pretty mental. And he moved in and was neighbours with Mark. Mark got friendly with him, told Matt that like we were obviously big massive fans and that. And I think when we were writing Bit Bright, we tried to be a bit cheeky, and we asked Mark if he'd give Matt a little letter from us, basically asking him to be on the record of Bit Bright. He politely said that he doesn't do that kind of thing, and from what I've known, he still hasn't ever featured on anyone's song. And he then he then still, you know, said like, but if you need any advice or anything, like, don't be afraid to hit me up. And then I can't remember at what point it happened, but I got messaging him a little bit, and I just said like, do you know any, like, how do you get on the radio and things like that? And then I knew how you got on the radio, but I was just wondering if he had, like, you know, some other contacts or something. And he basically hooked us up with Hayley from Public City PR, I think they're called. And he kind of introed us, and she checked our stuff out and liked it. And obviously from the recommendation from Matt from Don Broco. And then, yeah, Hayley started working with us, and we agreed like a price, basically, because obviously radio pluggers charge you a monthly fee for a campaign, and they, you know, it might be a 3-month campaign or whatever. And but the thing about, by the way, this isn't me slating like Hayley, because she did a really good job for a band that's done nothing, like gone from no one knows who they are to, like, you know, Kerrang and Jack Saunders playing us and stuff. So she was working with like a completely fresh band in her eyes. But obviously they can't promise you anything, so it's like a lot of, you know, it's quite a big investment, I guess, of like parting ways with that money with no guarantee that anyone's going to pick it up.
I mean, where I personally prefer Facebook and Instagram ads is, you know, you can switch them, you can pause them at any point. Even if you, in your head, you're like, I want to fucking throw $1,000 at this Facebook ads thing and really see if it can work for me. You don't have to commit to that $1,000 if after like a couple of days it's not working. You just pause it. And you might have spent 20 quid or whatever, and you start again, and you don't let the budget run unless it's actually working. Whereas, like you say, when you pay a marketing agency, like a radio plugger or someone, or online plugger, you're paying them their fee to go and pitch, and trusting that they do have the connections that they're saying, and they're actually going to pitch properly. And thankfully they did a really good job on yours.
So like Hayley, you know, it costs a lot, you know, a fair bit of money, and there is no pause button, and once you've done it, you've done it, and you can't go back from it. And also with radio, if you really want it to work, you're supposed to you don't just go, here's one song, sweet, thanks, and then never talk to them again. You kind of got to kind of accept that you got to run with it for a little while. And we did Bit Bright, our first like newish, where we changed our style a bit, and it was our first new song that would be on the album. And it actually proper kicked off in terms of, like, you know, we were all expecting, like, you know, we might get a little spot play, and that the video ran on Kerrang for like 2 months straight, I think, every other day. Jack Saunders had me in for an interview, which still to this day I feel I flunked it a bit because I was proper nervous.
I think that's in your head,
I know it's in my head, but if you get a chance to have an interview, don't overthink it, just talk to them like normal. But yeah, Jack Saunders played it a few times and was really bigging it up, and a few of the Kerrang radio presenters also played it. And then we thought, right, sweet, this is doing pretty well considering it's all during COVID lockdown. Like where like they had to be doing Zoom meetings and emails instead of them being like in person, being like, I've got this band, what do you think of this, would you play this and that. They had to do it all over Zoom. And then we continued with Hayley for all the way up till the album launch, and Jack Saunders played a few of the other tunes, bigged it up. Kerrang radio concert, we got Sophie K, I think's tune of the week or something on Kerrang. And like in terms of vanity stuff, and like, you know, I do think it helped us look like make that statement that we ain't just a pub band or a hobby, but like we are actually.
It gives you a validation.
It's a validation
stuff,
thing.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I do think, and this is no fault to Hayley's or ours or anything, I think I think the timing that we did it, if we'd have done that now, or like maybe in a year's time, we probably would have got more out of it, because Hayley, one good thing about Hayley is she always answered my questions on email as well, because I've heard some radio pluggers just go, yeah, sweet, cheers for the money, we'll try our best, and then they don't really talk to you, and then they just send you a random email here and there just being like, we tried this, didn't work. But she was always talking to me, and she said, like, I'm really gutted that, like, because of COVID, like, I can't, like, because she would have invited us to a few, like, after parties or, like, some backstage stuff to any shows that she might have been at, just so that you can kind of get in with the crowd and sort of meet people properly, because obviously a face-to-face connection is always a benefit as well to that stuff. But like, considering the times and it, I'm not disappointed with what happened, and I'm happy that I did it. Whether I'd do it again now, I'm not too sure, just because of how much things cost and like where we're at. But I think if you find the right plugger and you've got evidence from other, because like Hayley's emails always said who she's working with, and they were all the bands that I'm like, you know, massive fans of, and the Don Broco boys are, from the times I have met Matt and some of the other people, and our guitarist has met him as well. They're like completely down to earth people. So if they're saying like, yeah, try Hayley from Public City PR, she's obviously a good egg, because they're not the type of people that would be like, you know, here's a shafty, like they wouldn't shaft you in that way. Do you get what I mean? So I would say with a radio plugin, like, it is worth, you know, attempting it if it's the right, you know, if you've got, I guess, good reviews from other people around you that have shown that they have done something, and you've got good songs that you do fully believe are like radio friendly in that way. But I would say if you've not got the cash, if it's that or something else, then I'd probably, if it's that or like marketing on Facebook, then I'd still say only do it if you can do both. Does that make, like, I wouldn't.
So put the Facebook and Instagram ads first.
Yeah, which we really tried to do, and even we were slightly like, I don't know if we can do both. Which is why, because I think if we'd have completely, because we did stop for a bit, but we kept little things going. If we'd have stopped completely and just let the radio do its thing, we wouldn't have continued to grow, because the radio is great because you're getting that validation and, like, you know, people are hearing you all across the country, I guess, but you can't tap them up after. If Jimmy from down the road absolutely loved your band but wasn't someone that likes to shout about it, you're not going to know he listened. Like, you're not going to know Jimmy over there listens. Whereas on Facebook, if Jimmy listened, if he didn't want to shout about it, you could still promote a different video to him, and then he'd naturally see it, because you can target them on Facebook. You can't find those people that heard you on the radio. You just got to hope. And there are people that I know did hear us on the radio, because I've been to Slam Dunk and someone recognised us, and I'm quite good with names and like pictures and stuff, and I didn't recognise that person at all, and they said something like, oh, we heard you on Jack Saunders or something. So it obviously does work, but it's like a kind of passive thing in the background. You don't really know if they've...
Yeah, it's kind of a bit more by chance. Like, one of my favourite new bands is Wet Leg, and I heard them on Jack Saunders, I think it was.
He championed them quite a bit.
Yeah. I think I was driving to band practice one night, and Chaise Long come on. I was like, fucking hell, what's this? Fucking blew my mind. But that's like, fuck me, that's one of the only times I've discovered a new artist through the radio in years, really, because just by chance I'd Radio 1 on in my truck, and that come on. Whereas with these ads, we're if I mean, Wet Leg are a new band, but say in 3 or 4 years' time, if these ads are still, if the infrastructure is the same as what it is now, more or less, if Wet Leg are massive by then, you'll be able to target fans of Wet Leg if you know that your band sounds like Wet Leg. Do you know what I mean? And you'll you can niche your audience and focus it, and so that's something that just by chance, do you know what I mean? I was listening to the radio, whereas like I don't know, like a band like Wet Leg, can't think who else they sound like now, like a bigger band that they might have taken influence from. It was a little bit Velvet Underground and Nico. Like, if you could target people that like that, do you know what I mean? Then I would have like discovered them through the ads.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Like I say, it's with the radio stuff. It's expensive to pay a plugger, and
you can get really mugged off.
Well, there's that, but even if the plugger does a really great job, like yours did, you don't. It's like if you're getting like evening plays on Radio 1, it's gonna be there's like a slim chance that your like desired target demographic, your potential super fans, are gonna happen to be listening, fully engaging with Radio 1 late on a Tuesday night or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like if you guys sound like Enter Shikari, and you can target fans of Enter Shikari on Facebook, and like you say, they watch like 3 seconds of one of your ads, you can keep retargeting that fan of Enter Shikari and making sure that like they're seeing your band over and over again. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think you're leaning more towards that. You trust that marketing more, and it's more
I think to conclude, like my side, my feelings on it is like a radio plugger, the right one is amazing, and it's gonna feel great doing it, and it can do really well. But my advice to people that are thinking of doing it, that you need to make sure that you believe in your product enough, and the person plugging you believes in your product, and you're willing to invest a lot of money over time to really grind and work that radio plugger, like that radio
presence.
The radio presence, yeah. So if you're stretched for budget, then I would consider maybe like stepping back and waiting for the right time to do it when you're not stretched for budget. Like for example, I think like Deaf Guitar Pop with the right plugger, it would be worth you doing that if you could, whilst doing your other stuff, because you've got that in the bag and you know how that marketing works. So having that plugger on the side, in an ideal world, you want to be smashing the marketing and also having that budget to like smash that side of things, so that you can they all like link together with like your fan growth and validation all kind of coming together as one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
sense.
And
that's like the ideal world. And if you've got the budget to do that, then as long as you've done your research and got the right plugger for you, then I would say go for it. But I'd say if you haven't got that budget, your budget might be better spent on marketing until you're ready to
on online marketing, like
online paid ads. And again as well, if you're a new band out of nowhere, unless you've really got something magical, that's another thing that will put people like, because if you ain't got any like proof that you're doing shows or selling out shows, or that you've got a fan base somewhere, then the radio plugger has a lot less to work with. Like our radio plugger, she could say like they raised 12 grand in market, like in crowdfunding, they did this and that, or they're doing crowdfunding, they're making money. Like having that evidence, like the radio plugger can use, like, oh, you're supporting the big band, or you're making money here, or you're doing this, or you've got an album coming out. Whereas if you was just a fresh band out of nowhere, that would be, again, I wouldn't radio plug yet, because you've not got any, you're not giving the radio plugger anything to work with either. And that, so I think, I like marketing, online marketing, because I know what it is and I know how it works. But I do also like the radio plugin if I had the budget to do both. And it's the right person, because like I said, like you've experienced it in your old band. I know, like we experienced it with that magazine plugger back when we first started. Like you can pay this money and then never see it ever again, and it doesn't result in anything at all. So I think it's one of those things you've got to weigh up basically, and be really, okay, I'm definitely going to do this. And you have to be prepared to lose a bit of money.
So let's talk about the Charlie Simpson collab, because that's fucking massive for you boys, isn't it? It was like a sort of childhood hero of yours, wasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely was a childhood hero. I haven't told him this. I've told my mates though. I think I've told you, but when I was 11 or 10, like Busted were my. So in case anyone doesn't know, Charlie Simpson was in Busted and then also Fight Star.
Yeah.
And now he's doing his own solo stuff. But yeah, when I was 10, 11, they were actually the first band I ever saw at the Wembley Arena. My mum took me, and they swore in a few of their songs, and I thought this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Were they like your gateway to guitar music, Busted?
Actually, Stereophonics were.
Oh, really?
My dad used to play them all the time, and I used to be like constantly like, pick a part that's new in the car. When I was like 5 or 6, and my dad used to make these little CDs where he'd have like My Chemical Romance on it and like Coldplay. Like it was always like it's weird that I don't know where he got the My Chemical Romance.
I was going to say, was he into MCR before you? Did he introduce you to it?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
He put
That's
Welcome
cool.
to the Black Parade on.
Well, I mean, that album was massive.
But he didn't show me the album. He showed me like the songs. So I would have been like, 7 or 8, and I used to remember like in the back of the car going like for the drum.
I wonder whether
bit.
it was one of them old like festival compilations.
No, he made.
Or something.
He went and he'd like burn them. He'd like find the songs that he liked, I guess, because it would have like Lily Allen on it as well, or like, Coldplay were on there. But yeah, that's actually technically I think, and also my mum's dad, my grandpa was a musician, so my mum always had like rock tunes on all the time, and also she was a bit of a raver, so I heard all that like rave sceney music as well. But no, so yeah, actually technically Busted, unfortunately, Charlie mate, you didn't inspire me to play guitar. No. He did, they were part of it, because seeing a live band for the first time was like a big thing for me. But yeah, I watched them live, and then I went to school the next day, and I basically made like a cover band. We didn't play instruments back then, so we'd like, me and my 2 mates, I was Charlie, someone else was James, and someone else was Matt, and then we had like my mate Dom was the bouncer, and we'd sing in the playground like Busted tunes, and all the other kids would like sing along and pretend they were the crowd.
That's where you got a taste for it.
Yeah, it was. I know, I forget that every time. So yeah, and then I think also just to show that I was like my little fandom period was, I spoke to Chris Tarrant on Radio 1, like breakfast show I think it was, and I got like, I rung up, and if he guessed what I was trying to describe, like charades or something, I get to pick my song, and I picked oh god, is it called Dance Floor or Disco or something? I don't remember the name now. It's the one where it's like, I asked you to dance at the disco, but you said no. Which was watching and laughing. But my friends hated me for it, because they all wanted me to put Year 3000 or Crash the Wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
But I went for that kind of like non-single nichey one that was on the album, because I remember Chris.
That did end up being a single though.
It did, but I remember at the time Chris Tarrant checking and being like, "Do we have that one on the radio? Do we have that?" And they were like, "Yep, no, we can play that one for you." Because I think he was about to say, "Do you want Year 3000 or Crash the Wedding or something?" And I was like, "No, I want. What was it called? Crash." Because they are crashed and burned at your feet.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Is it You Said No or something? I don't know.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
It doesn't matter,
it, mate.
Find out. But yeah, that's my little fandom. So obviously, when I found out that Clint, our producer, was like engineering on with Gil Norton on the Comeback Busted album in 2020, or was it 2019?
It was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the last few years. Yeah. We obviously
was that the Muck Busted thing, or
no? That was their comeback album that they kind of did a couple of years ago, and he was engineering on that. So that obviously got all of us a bit like, oh shit, he technically knows Busted, which means we can slightly know Busted if we wanted to like really ask or whatever. And then when we were writing the album, we had it in our minds that we were like, let's try and get some collabs. And I think, we wrote this song, and our Charlie Barnard, the guitarist, he actually was originally going to sing the chorus that Charlie Simpson now sings. So he sung that in. We recorded it all, and then we were like, Clint, do you think like you could ask like, how ridiculous would it be if you asked Charlie Simpson to be on this record? And he was like, I was just thinking, like, we should ask him to be on this one. And also, after engineering that album with Busted, he then went on to like work on Charlie Simpson's solo stuff, so he'd got to really know Charlie.
Yeah.
So he just sent him the track and was like, and I think he'd already shown Busted 2 Year Break back when he was engineering for the album. I think he slipped, like, I think he played a few, but I think he was opening up the project and he was like, oh, I accidentally opened up my band's project 2 Year Break, like my mate's band or whatever. So they kind of knew who we were to an extent. And then Clint just sort of popped the question, and Charlie went, let me hear the song, and he immediately loved it because he's obviously into that heavier side of things anyway, and this was a little bit of a heavier one. And he didn't ask to change anything. He just went, I'll sing the chorus, absolutely. And then he did it. And then there was a brief period where I thought he might back out, not because he was just taking a while to do it. And then one day Clint sent us a picture of like a busted like aluminium or like silver plated like platinum record that they would have had of like the year 3000 album.
Oh, when he was like in his home studio.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, it's happening. And then he sent a little audio clip of like Charlie's live record.
I remember you sent me that.
And I was like, I remember I looked at Emily and was like, he's fucking this. Emily, look at this fucking shit or whatever. And then and that's it. He couldn't be in the music video for certain reasons, which I won't go into, but it wasn't really up to him. So we got a cardboard cutout of him, didn't we? And
nice touch.
Yeah, made a music video out of that, which I did. I sent a big long like 6-minute video of me explaining what we're gonna do and if he's okay to have his like cardboard cutout in there, because he might be like,
oh, so you cleared it with him first?
Yeah, he might have looked at that cardboard cutout and been like, that's fucking me when I was like 19, 20. I look stupid there. I don't like it anymore.
He was just double cool with it.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, it sounds funny or whatever. And then we went and filmed it. So
cool,
yeah,
man.
It was cool.
And that's the song that you use for your fan growth ad now, isn't it, on Instagram?
It was a fan growth one. We did a little TikTok a couple of weeks ago, and that actually really worked. And now actually, you've spoke about it in other podcasts, so I won't go into too much. Now we actually use the start of that song and then a montage of all our other tunes and giving away that free CD. And originally we were targeting that advert to fans that have already heard us. So fans that would have watched that song with Charlie would then be shown like, we're giving away our album for free, you just pay and signing it and stuff. And then now we do that ad to like a completely cold audience, and we're giving quite a few away a day, and that's from, they'll hear a bit of Charlie Simpson, they'll then see that you can get a free CD, and then it will say like featuring songs like Loving Every Day with Charlie Simpson, which probably helps as well, seeing that name on there, and then Bit Bright, and then some things like saying Kerrang champions it or whatever. And that's currently at the moment sort of our fan finder in a way.
So are you selling CDs to a cold audience?
Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, so they're going like, it's like 20 to 30 a week.
Brilliant,
which,
mate.
You could get...
What are you doing, like a tenner a day on that?
Yeah, and which like, you could do a fan finder advert and get 100 people a week to actually invest, like actually enjoy the product, like enjoy the music. But the way I'm looking at the moment is I'm currently getting 20, 30 people. They're receiving a full album of us. Yeah,
and you're getting them monetised straight away.
Yeah, because they're...
And on your list of...
Yeah. But also they're getting a whole album, which means they can then really invest into our music and then actually go, fuck, I really like this band. Instead of just hearing a tune and then having to try and get them again to listen to another one or get them to potentially buy a CD or whatever. This way, we're kind of maybe getting less people through the door, but we're getting more solid people through the door.
Yeah.
And I will go back to the fan finder. This is just something we thought we'd trial for a little while and see how it goes. And currently it's still, I think actually some days it's profitable because the price of the marketing isn't costing as much as how many CDs that are being given away and stuff.
Yeah. So just for the benefit of the listeners, that's like a free plus shipping product. So you give your signed CD album away, and the customer just pays the postage and packaging costs, and they buy that directly through one of your own landing pages,
through our shop actually, which
through your shop, where you created like a landing page within the shop, haven't you? And it's a great way of essentially building like a monetized mailing list, isn't it?
Yeah, so you get in their data straight away if they're willing to give it by getting the CD, and you're not really making much money on that CD because obviously you've got to pay for the CD and you're marketing the CD, but the shipping kind of covers some of it. And then on top of that, from the way we're doing it currently, they're also going from completely never hearing to us to they've got a CD, so they might as well listen to it, and then they're listening to it hopefully the whole way through. And then in the past month I think we've had like 300 probably a little bit more than a month, we've had about 200 new mailing list people, and then people are buying tickets to our shows. So because on the Shopify you can see their first order or you can see their previous orders. So if you go on some of our tickets, if you click on the ticket it says 2 orders, and then if you go like up below it shows like last week they got the CD, this week they bought a ticket
to a show,
and like which means
that's a quick transition, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not someone that's gone and loved us for ages and bought other stuff and they want to see the ticket, because that's someone that's never heard of us, grabbed the CD, loved it and thought, fuck it, I'll go to one of their shows. And I think that's mental.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. Yeah, well, we found that with our recent tour marketing. I always was under the impression that like trying to sell tickets, which is like a higher ticket product, isn't it? Like I was always under the impression that we'd only ever get ticket sales through retargeting people that have already engaged with the band, so the warm audience. But when we started targeting to a cold audience like we do for our fan growth ads, we actually got ticket sales like from the cold audience. So obviously you guys are doing the same with CDs, which is sick, isn't it? All right, awesome, mate. So the last thing I want to talk about then, whilst we're on the subject of ticket sales, is your self-promoted show model. So you've done a couple of big nights in London now, haven't you, where you hired the venue, done your own ticketing. Now that's growing into a model that you can take on the road and do UK tours with. So do you want to just talk a little bit about how that's worked and how the shows have been profitable and everything? I think that'd be interesting.
So like obviously the streaming, you make a little bit of money, selling your t-shirts and that, you make a bit of money, but like one of the best places to like well, not even the money side, but like you make the album, you listen to it, people hear it and they comment and say like, oh, we love this, but actually seeing them at a show really solidifies like they actually like this music. And it's also like the best way to like support the band is by going to see them at a show and maybe buying some of their merch at the show. So for us that's been really profitable, and a lot of the way we've made some of our money other than online through our shop. So the process will be, instead of going to a venue and like the promoter being like, we want to put you on as a headline and they'll deal with the tickets, you fuck all that off and you go, can I hire your venue? And the venue will be like, yep, sure, it's 150 quid, 200 quid for it, whatever. And then you sell your own tickets on your own platform, so that because if you can sell them through C Tickets or Skidoo or Dice or whatever, but you have to obviously, they keep the money till the show's over, which I get because if you cancel the show then they have that money to give it back. But if you're smart and good and act as an actual business person, when you sell tickets for a show, you just make sure you don't fully spend that money in case something does go wrong and you do have to give them tickets back. So we basically we hire the venue, sell the tickets on our own platform, which means then we can get that money comes in straight away, so we then have that cash flow and know that we're sorted. And then we market it out to our current fan base, mailing lists and all that stuff. and yeah, there's not really much to say. They've been profitable, and we've managed to, every London show we've sold out, I believe, or at least been like so close to the point where like probably a few guest lists would probably class as selling out anyway. So all of our London shows have just grown and grown and grown essentially. Like our we could only play the Hope and Anchor, which was an 80 cap venue, because it was the only venue we could hire at the time, because COVID was just coming. Like, you was just allowed to go out, and everyone had rescheduled a bunch of gigs, so there was barely anything available to hire. So we hired Hope and Anchor, which obviously was a smaller cap venue of 80 people, as our little, like, we called it like an intimate, close sort of like launch party. And we did the early bird tickets, which went out to our mailing list, and they disappeared within an hour. And then we then did the next day in the 9 a.m. in the morning. We sold the rest of the tickets, and they went in 2 hours. So technically,
so you sold the Hope and Anchor out in a day.
Technically in like 3 hours.
Yeah,
and that felt really cool, to the point where like we should have maybe, like, if only we could have got a bigger venue, which is why we immediately went and sorted out the Water Rats for like a couple of months later, and we just pretty much we sold that one out as well at the weekend, last weekend, which you turned up to. And that was the same. All of our shows are the same methods: hire the venue, put the tickets on yourself, get the bands yourself, pay them. You work out an agreement that we always, because we know what it's like to play as a supporting band and not get made any money. Obviously we ain't rich, we can't just throw money at people, but we try to make it as fair as possible for the support bands and make sure that they get paid, or at least covered to get there and stuff.
Of course.
And we did that for the Water Rats as well. And now we're on that, we're going on a little small tour in May, and most of the venues are 50% sold out, and we've only started selling it a month ago, was it? I think we announced it. And I'm really pushing to try and get that sell out on, I'm not going to set the goal to all 4 dates, but if 1 or 2 of them sell out, that would be a bonus. And
I'd imagine as well, if you're hiring those venues yourself, the shows probably are like breaking even or maybe profitable, like half sold out, aren't they?
So I kind of missed that, but like, obviously if you're hiring it yourself and you're selling the tickets yourself, that's why they're profitable. Because if a promoter's doing it and they've not paid you much, or they're giving you a percentage of the tickets, you kind of got to sell out to even make close to what you would make. Whereas if you're hiring a venue for 200 quid and your tickets are 15 quid or a tenner, you only need to sell 20 of them for like 25 of them, and then you've already broke even, right? And then anything else is a profit. So yeah, that's what we're doing, and that's what we're doing for the tour. And yeah, I'm pretty sure on a few of them dates we're already in profit now, and selling out is obviously just a bonus, and would be a great way to push for booking agents in the future, because you can show like, look, there is demand for us. So you putting us on a festival, open a slot is worthy, and that's my kind of goal, which I kind of learnt a bit from Indiepreneur / As December Falls.
I was just going to say, As December Falls, what they'd done with their self-promoted touring model and selling out that 16-date tour, I think it was. That attracted the booking agent, didn't it? It was we can do the fucking numbers. We've just sold out a tour, D.I.Y. I think that's the way to go, isn't it? Like, kind of prove yourself first as a live touring business, and then an agent will
hopefully snap you.
They can't refuse you at that stage.
Yeah, because an agent, having a good agent is how you get some of these cool festival slots. And
I see they're now on Slam Dunk already, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Which is like somewhere I would love to play, and I think we 100% would have people there that would want to see us.
Yeah.
Not fucking main stage, like in the middle of the day, probably not, but like one of the key stages.
You'd hold your own, mate, for sure.
I mean,
love to see that.
We'd definitely give it our all, and I'd like to think that our stage,
mate.
But in terms of like,
no, I know what
people
you mean,
coming to you, festivals.
Yeah, you're like the perfect new band for Slam Dunk Festival.
Yeah.
But like you say, you want to prove your numbers first, build a successful touring business where you're pulling in like 150 people in every city at least. And yeah, that part will come next, wouldn't it, mate? So cool, man. Well, listen, look, we could literally rabbit on all night.
I know, yes, we could
geek out over all this stuff. But yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, Brad. And one last thing before we finish up on this podcast. So in the last few years, I've sort of, seen you grow into this, like, I've seen you grow as an artist and become this like beast of a front man and like really skillful music entrepreneur. But like we touched on earlier in our chat, you were in quite a difficult place a few years ago and pretty depressed, to be brutally honest. And
yep.
The band was like, you'd formed the band, it was happening and it had a lot of potential, but you was sort of, in a day job that was making you really miserable. Now your band's going from strength to strength and you're a full-time music entrepreneur. So have you got any advice for anyone else that might be listening, that might be in a similar position to what you were a few years ago, who's struggling a little bit to get to sort of build that traction and get going in their music career? Because I think you're a really you're a success story and people would find it useful to have your advice on how you've done it.
Yeah, it's on the spot question, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of think I've touched on it earlier, but I would just say, like, surrounding yourself with people that like-minded people is always going to be massively, like when I was younger, like no fault, like no disrespect to like my nan and my mum and that, because like they're very supportive now and they always have sort of been supportive, but they've always, them kind of, like they're always like, oh, why would you do that? Why don't you get a real job or whatever, and things like that. Like subconsciously, that's going to put you down and make you feel like you're not worth doing it. So like, for example, being around, like I'm around Oliver all the time, Silky, Ollie. Oliver, I know, I've never said that before, have I? Ellis, like, and all my bandmates, like we all have that vision of where we want to be, and there's no doubt in my mind from anyone else because I'm around them all the time. So basically, yeah, what I'm saying is being around the right like-minded people is going to be a massive help towards that, and not kicking that imposter syndrome in the, like, getting rid of that and just making those scary life choices and just going for it, as long as you feel in your like deepest of like your heart that you're like, I want to be this and I know how to do it, then you just need to go do it, I guess, essentially. Like go take that leap into, I'm not sure if I like photography, but I don't think I'll be good enough to take photos of bands. Go buy a camera and go start taking photos of bands, and then you'll prove to yourself that actually you are good at taking photos of bands. So yeah, but my advice is stick with like-minded people, research on everything, and go and just go get what you want to get, essentially. I think.
Awesome. Love
maybe.
That. Love that. Nice one, Bradders. Right. It's been a pleasure, mate.
I look forward to sitting over there and listening to the rest of the podcast. See you later.
Top man. See you later. Oi people, Silky here. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of my chat with Bradley Tyler as much as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations exploring the minds of creative music entrepreneurs, you can check out more episodes of the Life of Musician podcast on all major streaming platforms now. Nice one.